Hello, everybody. This is a kubeadm office hours session of 19th of June. And today is basically the planning for 116. I'm going to post the agenda in Slack. If you have any items, we can add them, but it's kind of already packed a lot. So we have to go through a lot of basically discussion today. So this is unsorted, basically. I should share my screen. But the thing is, there's so many things we have to discuss, and I already have some priority in my head, but I really wanted to get the feedback from the others about like what is the most important thing is this cycle. So the first one is this better support for asynchronous node join. So currently, we have some problems related to concurrent control plane joining the cluster. This manifests if you basically, I mean, it's an HCD problem. We already have a fix, it's just not in the PR form yet. You can send it. So it feels to me like this is something fairly important. A related problem here is that we worker node joining have problems, because if we have a situation behind a load balancer that does not support HTTPS health checks, we can get in a situation where this worker cannot discover the API server. And overall, also I see Jaguar added an item. This is, yeah, I saw this earlier. This is a problem that if we taint too late, it's possible to schedule workloads on this control plane node, which is probably undesired. And overall, I see this is a fairly important item. So maybe we should assign it like important long term, like a P2, maybe, for now. Does anybody have comments?
Depends upon.
Please go on.
Go ahead, Fabrice. Depends upon whether or not you're hitting the kind control plane issue join stuff faster than most people. If it surfaces in cluster API, I would bump the priority. Otherwise, if it's only localized to this really kind of niche testing environment, then P2 sounds reasonable from my perspective.
I have seen this being a problem in user clusters. So basically, we have we have an HA setup, but we didn't say that they have to join serial in a serial fashion. So they attempted concurrent and it failed. So I have seen this in user reports, but so it's yeah.
Personally, I consider this a bug. It's something that we have to work out, to work on. I agree it is P2. Even in my opinion, is not worth to keep on the table while we are talking about planning. In my opinion, planning are important teams that we want to develop, and why this is an issue, an ST1, but I agree with P2.
Okay, let's move to the next one. This is customizing clusters, like quote unquote. And at this point, I think this is the highest requested feature for kubeadm. Currently, users are doing kubeadm upgrade --config, which is basically they are upgrading the cluster for the sake of modifying the cluster configuration, which I think we should work around possibly with a new command. And it's nice to have, but it's not super critical blocking at the same time. So maybe this is a P1.
I agree in P1, also because there is no, it's something that we have to work on a cap initially. So let's start, I take the ownership to start writing the cap, trying to define some first use case, because the requirement is still not well defined. But I'm not sure that at the end we can execute during this cycle. It will be great to finish the cycle to something to work on, a CAP approved.
Yeah, basically, Rossi made a good point that if we don't get a good CAP in place, we might be blocked on basically the implementation details for this. So maybe P1, but if this starts getting dragged in time, we can reduce the period. So this is upgrade phases. So Rossi also made a good comment about this, that if we are about to split customization into a separate command, maybe we can use the backend for the upgrades because they are going to use similar backend functionality. Upgrades. If we reduce the scope of upgrades, we can technically get something that is the customization of a control plane node, for instance. So it's maybe there's coherence between these two tasks, but I don't know. Maybe the upgrades by themselves, they are also are a requested feature, but what I've seen is that people want to skip add-ons. That's the only motivation to enable upgrade phases at this point. So I'm not really sure what to do here. Maybe long term, like P2.
For me, this one is P3. The work around the phases for upgrade is still it should be defined, and I think that there are too many.
I told her that I stopped my Slack, but it continues saying doing messages anyway. Hopefully we don't review anything secret on video. Okay, so P3 here. Next I added the kubeadm v1 beta 3 config possibly. So the question here is that what should we add there? Because we spoke with Rossi, and currently the only thing that made sense is to enable volumes for the etcd manifest. And I don't think that we basically have anything else. So this is like a question / priority enable, like what priority to enable.
I would punt a cycle. I wouldn't even have it on the list for this cycle because traditionally we try to batch API changes from broader feedback. There's no sense in churning if there's only one minor addition, in my opinion.
Yeah, I in fact don't see anything for the next couple of cycles. So probably punt it even further.
Agree.
Okay, so this is the next one is the cleanup of kubeadm dependencies. So next week I proposed to Andrew Kim to basically have a dedicated meeting for this. We don't have to backshed the whole thing right now. It's we have a bit of a messy dependency basically list. So what we can do is potentially discuss next week, but I just wanted to bring this now to discuss the overall priority of this item. And it's already, the tracking issue is already established, like P1. But in my opinion, because it's going to span through a lot of cycles, maybe we should break it down into sub tickets, sub tasks, and potentially escalate some of them, put some of them on in the backlog.
I agree. I think the most important one is clean vendoring of types and enablement for the broader incorporation. Like we're still stuck on Bootstrap tokens. And if we want to do the separate types for machine readable output, we're totally locked on getting Bootstrap tokens out. Plus there's other
making types vendorable and the P2 everything else.
you read my mind.
I agree.
Okay, let's add it as P2 for now, I guess. And next week we can discuss, possibly break this into subtasks. Hopefully we're going to get help from our people because there are a lot of items here to discuss. And I'm just going to copy this next week, this list, and discuss it separately. Security improvements. So this is, I just searched for this table and I can open the link. We have a number there. In my opinion, most of these are like priority backlog or maybe like long-term. Like you see the presence of important long-term items. So maybe we can have this as important long-term, but at the same time, it's kind of backlogish. I don't know. But there's also the CIS compliance, which is also security stuff.
Ahead of like common constraints, like we still have the kubelet serving cert exposed. Like just fundamental things like that. And there are sometimes every now and then we need to pay the piper and burn this down to the ground and get rid of these because these are production grade problems, right? And people should, we want to have kubeadm not only be the de facto tool for bootstrapping people, but for them to feel safe and comfortable from a security perspective. So I would probably priority invert security to be a high priority, just to at least go through every issue, triage them all, and make sure that we're in a good state and we've dealt with this holistically.
Maybe we can make this a P0 to have the audit basically. We can make it a P0 to have the audits early in the cycle, and then because some of these items are maybe they are production blocking, but some of them are not. Like
I agree that this should be higher priority, probably P0. And in my opinion, there are 2 or 3 things that should be addressed. of actionable item, and the other goes in background, in backlog.
Okay. We can potentially shift priorities also. It's not something that's funny like this. Yes, related to sys compliance, this is one of the tickets essentially. So, is it also P0? Should we make a separate task for this?
I think for this one it depends. Some of the issues needs to be fixed on the CIS side, I think.
Yes, so it's not really high priority because there are problems with the kube bench.
So long as we have a tracker that logs and tracks the issues that we file with the CIS folks too.
Yeah, Nadir promised to create some issues in the kube bench repository that I basically don't know where it is. We possibly need to discuss this further with him. Right, machine readable output. This is probably like right away priority backlog. Maybe we can do it right now if you want to view who has been active, or it's not appropriate to do it during the meeting. We are
We
good.
can do it asynchronously.
Okay. And this is, I don't know who added this. Maybe also SATA added it. We need more contributors for kubeadm. Help parties issue more actionable, future friendly meetings, code review sessions.
I think this isn't a priority from an execution perspective, but I do think that we should maybe have like a bi-weekly China-friendly time. I don't know if it's bi-weekly or monthly or something. It's up to other folks who are in a better time zone, because my time zone hitting China is always super late at night. I can do it every now and then, but it's pretty rare. So I don't think it's a priority for execution. I think it's maybe something we should try to take into account this cycle.
Yeah, I see the sick days are doing the same. Basically, the people like me, Rosti, and Fabrizio, we are comfortable with the EU time zone. I mean, it happens once a week. It's okay.
I think that it is fine to start bi-weekly, and I think that we can try to leverage on SATA QE, the new reviewer for getting this started, because we need someone there that helps bring people in.
I would prefer to start with Dixu, if he can host the meetings.
Okay. Issue there, and I ask people who are interested to jump in. And for today's meeting, I think that we can keep these two items, remove the priority because they are not priority for execution, and we move at the end of the list, but because it's something that we have to work on and just see in order to stay healthy in future, but they are not really planning. So
Okay, so machine readable output is added twice. Windows support. This is currently in the hands of SIG Windows, I wanted to say, so that's why I didn't add it. But the Windows, okay.
I added those points so I can give a little bit of background. Machine readable output is something that we discussed a lot with, especially with the Intel folks in Barcelona, and they even started to do a first implementation. So in my opinion, it's something that is nice to have, and there are people committed to making this happen. I will put this P1 just because it's something that is, we have people already doing something similar. While Windows support, what I want to avoid is what happened in the life cycle, that late in the cycle we had a meeting with people from Microsoft asking for our commit.
Do you prefer if we increase the priority from P3 right now?
Yes, and I'll add a note that we should plan a meeting with people, understanding their commitment, and eventually change the priority.
Okay.
I add the note. Please continue with the meeting.
Okay. Did you add this item as well, the test coverage?
Yes, I added also this one because last cycle we in my opinion we did a really good job in implementing our test coverage, but test is something that must be maintained, and now we have two problems that should be addressed. I started to work something, and the first one is that we should rebase to our kind, to the latest kind, and this is something that brings in container D, and this fact raises a problem that we want to test also Docker. So we have to bring in containerd, but also preserve Docker. It's something that I want to work at the beginning of the cycle, where there is less risk in changing the test.
Yes, this is actually because this impacts HA support. Yes, we potentially are going to have a lot of time after the list of items, so we can discuss all that, because security is going to be interesting.
I'm a little concerned by the cut line here. We have a lot. Our list is pretty big here, if you scroll back up, one thing we typically do too is to get people who want to commit to some of these things along the way, so that they're engaged in it all the way through. So if we can get firm commitments on some of this, then we can have like stakeholders for some of the work going on. I'm a little concerned we're going to spread ourselves pretty thin across all these efforts.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the list later to basically have a look of priorities we added because we have a lot of P1s at this point. And it makes sense.
Yes, I'm adding my name on the task where I will covered by volunteers.
Yes, so let's go back up a list. So we added P1 for test coverage, P2 to Windows support, machinery about P3. If I have to change this, I would change it again to P3. Problem is, we don't have it's only me who is going to have the time for this. So I would change this. If I have to change it, I'm going to change this to P3. P0 security improvements, we already said this, it should be renamed P0. Like we can only have one P0. Cleanup of kubeadm dependencies, like I'm going to participate also as Rusty. Okay. And Yasin as well, I guess.
Yeah, you can add me there. Thanks.
Okay. All right. This is planted. Upgrade phases. It seems to me that nobody is going to have the time for this, and it should be for Richard, ideally, I guess.
P4.
All right. Planting completely. Customization. Do we want to keep it P1? That's
I volunteered as well. I write my name below on the cap, but please put it.
okay. All right. This is P1. This is for Rafael for P0. The async node join. I guess so. I also should add myself. I was testing a lot. Okay. I think that everybody has an item. Still, let's see how many P1s we have. I think 2, 3. I think we have.
It is the change the cluster.
Okay.
I want to try to figure out a solution right at cap.
Okay, since I'm going to participate in the testing stuff anyway, I'm going to lower this priority, but we might complete it in parallel anyway, because it's important, I think. So that's, I don't have an argument. I just don't reduce the priority here.
Okay.
Right. Any comments on the list? Anybody?
Hey, Fabrizio, would you like help writing that KEP? I don't know if I could be of help, but if I could be, I would like to help you.
Okay, let's think offline on writing the cap. Honestly, I have to start collecting ideas, so this will be fine. Any help will be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so I see Marek signed with Iago on the security improvements. This is potentially we can increase it. If we are close for release, but the work is not done, we can increase the penalty then. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I don't mind even putting P2 because there are people committed to execute and they don't have other tasks. So,
All right. Any other comments?
I would like to participate in this dependency task if possible. Cleaning up dependencies.
Thanks, Ed. I'm going to let you know.
So are we having a dedicated meeting for this one or not?
Yes, because there's so many different topics to discuss there. I wanted to make the meeting next week, and we can have the people like Dimson and Andrew Kim can join and basically witness our dependency graph.
Before, you might want to sync with someone from Google to figure out when Jordan is back from vacation. So he's on vacation right now, and I want him to not think about stuff. So maybe talk with somebody else from not.
Yeah, I really want him to join the meeting, except that if he is, he has been working hard without a vacation, so maybe he's out for a month. I don't know.
That's true. I think we can just come up with a list and say, here's our list. If you want to help work on these items, feel free. Otherwise, we're doing it according to our priorities.
Yes, we have to establish the priorities because unless other people want to help from Google or other companies.
Yeah. So one of the things that's kind of missing from this list, which is like higher level SIG priorities that we might want to start to percolate into this list, is we need to evaluate the /cluster directory and what tests are currently, what release blocking tests are not currently covered by kubeadm tests, and at least enumerate the subset. I would put this underneath the testing effort. As a macro level thing, and figure out what tests are missing from kubeadm to make kubeadm be the default release blocking jobs for Kubernetes proper.
I think we should put the same priority for this item as for the extraction.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Lumir.
the cluster directory, whether we want to move it out or not, requires a lot of work from. Still operate, the Google part of the test, and we can also have the kubeadm part of the test. Now the question is, what is release blocking? And I think that we can potentially have both of them release blocking. Maybe Google one day are going to remove kubeup and replace it with another deployer that is modern and makes sense.
Why don't I create an umbrella issue? You can put this underneath the main test one, which is currently P1, or is it P2?
P2.
Right. You can put it underneath there, and I will. We'll probably bump this up in priority because it's the / cluster directory has been a thorn in our side forever. Just like the test apparatus was a thorn in our side forever until you, Ben, and Fabrizio fixed it with Kinder. And unless we actually address the problem, it will never go away.
Yeah, there are serious problems there in terms of like how do we test the 6 scalability stuff. They have 5,000 nodes. We can test this with Kinder. So somebody has to provide us with the infrastructure. We have to create a new deployer. So it's not that simple.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be stages to this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm pretty sure Google wants to remove kubeup. It's just nobody has the bandwidth. So it's a contract of people having the time, and basically, Google is signing to do this work. We can.
Yeah. I'll add my name to that list for the testing stuff in particular.
Okay. I saw that SIG releases started doing some work related to the packages. Should we still keep this? Anything else to add to this list?
That blog post was awesome. Good job. I think that will be really beneficial to the community. I do think that the declarative nature of HA deployments will be super awesome feature once we get that all ironed out. And just declarative nature of deployments. So if we can fix those race conditions, we could eventually get to the point where we could just say, give me a cluster cloud provider from a CAPI or Kappa, whatever CAP version. And that would just go as fast as humanly possible. That would be a sweet state to get into.
Yes, definitely. I was thinking about setting a fix for the HCD problem, like in a .1 release or something like that. Do you think this is a good idea to patch it like so?
I do.
Like once I'm back into my regular schedule of not sleeping, I'm going to send this the PR and possibly explain to people how to test it again, because it's not super easy. Yes, but Kinder makes it easy. So yeah, I'm going to get back to this topic, and hopefully we can manage it in the .1 release. The workaround for the config maps is already there. We don't like it, but I'm not sure if we are going to be able to fix it in Apache release. Do you think we should do it still in Apache release?
Let's take a look at the fix once we get there, and whether or not it's blocking for the old version, or whether or not the workaround we currently have is sufficient for a period of time.
Yes. Is Rafael on the call still?
Sometimes the kube API server is answering unauthorized because it is still initializing. And basically, whatever we are implementing are workaround to this root problem. And I think that a good way to tackle this problem will be to have a meeting with Jordan Legit and try to understand with Jordan if it is correct that in kube API server in some moments answer unauthorized, or it is better that kube API server, while it is initializing, does not provide false answers. So this happens when we are joining control plane, new control plane.
Explained. We should instead wait for the held Z endpoint to be responding correctly. Rafa is basically saying that we are not doing that currently.
Yeah, but I agree. So, in fact, we should define if it is a problem that should be fixed in kubeadmin, if it's a problem that should be fixed in kube API server, or if it is a problem that we have to provide instruction to the user about how to set up the load balancer.
So, just one comment regarding this. One of the things that we have on kubeadmin and is really good is that the scope is very narrow. So we know what kubeadmin scope is, and I think this falls into the same category. What kind of things should kubeadm do? And I think we should narrow the scope here as well. Like kubeadm is doing some things on the cluster, right? It's uploading some config maps and so on, but it's mostly working locally. So I think it makes sense for us to say that if you are using a load balancer, you have to configure that properly from our side, because there is no perfect solution from our side as far as I can see. For example, the AP server, we can ask Jordan or other team members for our initialization behavior, but they can ask